there. Welcome to House Nerds. I'm David Lawson.
And I'm Jenny Morris. How are you, David?
I'm doing great. Thanks. Been a little while since we've been here, but we've got lots to talk about today.
A lot going on, man. I just moved to Dayton, Tennessee, and I'm telling you, moving is a big deal.
Yes. And if you missed our session on moving, go check that out because we talked a lot about all those expenses and different things you need to be aware of.
But today we're going to talk about one of my favorite things, which is
One of your favorite
kitchen.
rooms.
One of my
Yes.
favorite rooms, kitchens.
The
I
kitchen
know.
is actually the room that people end up spending the most money on in the house, typically. That's where the most money is spent. An average kitchen remodel is upwards of $50,000. Some people spending a lot more because of your appliances, your countertops, your cabinets. A lot of that stuff is custom. Um, so lots of stuff goes into that design and making it functional for how you want to cook and the area that you live in and all that stuff.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit about the type of culture that you're in or that you
Right.
you favor can impact the way that you design your kitchen, the different nuances and appliances that you want to use or spotlight, or that you might use more than others that you'll want to easily place in a particular location. I know for me, one of the things that I love to do is prep for juicing. And then,
Okay.
of course, I love to bake. So my entire kitchen island is a baking center with all of my baking stuff ready to go. So, yeah, it matters.
Do you have a prep sink in your island?
I do not. It's one of the things that I do wish that I had. But remember, this house with a stick build, we do have one in the homes that you designed for us that we will be building. So,
You have electrical in your island for your hand mixers and things like that.
I do not. We have an
Okay.
electrician at our house putting it in, and it's something you designed in our future homes, which
Right.
I'm super excited about. But no, we don't have that. And here in Tennessee, it's not a code requirement as of right now to have electrical in your island. But I understand, David, isn't that a code
Yeah,
requirement now?
International Building Code, if you've got a fixed island, we got to get electrical there in the island. And so that goes into the design. We talked about sinks just a minute ago, but some people want ice makers in their island and they don't realize that an ice maker also needs a drain. And so as we're designing, we often want to think about those things. How much power are you going to need? If you're going to put a beverage fridge in the island, we need an extra circuit. If we're going to put any sort of sink or disposal or ice maker, we need a drain. And so I often encourage people to plumb the island, especially if they're building on a slab where it's almost impossible to go back and add those things later, so that you can always make that change.
One of my favorite appliances is actually a trash compactor. I
Yes.
think that they are amazing. I think they're super great for the environment. And it's amazing how much trash you can compact into a small space when you use that appliance. I firmly believe that every home should have a trash compactor. They were really popular back in the 80s, I think. And
And
then we saw
90s.
them go away, and I wish that they would come back more.
I think we made a move to recycling, and so there was this change to two separate trash cans a lot. So right now the trend is a pull-out drawer that's got multiple trash cans for your recycle and trash and things like that. So that's a different way that people are doing, but I love the trash compactor as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. I just was at a community forum and we were talking about our landfill here and how quickly it's filling up. And, things like that are important for the environment. It's important that we take care of our space. And that's an easy way to do it. I mean, literally, the push of a button and it's done. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's one of those things I wish I had in my kitchen island right about now.
Other appliances that we need to plan for are your fridge. Do you want a built-in? Do you want a counter depth so that it doesn't stick out? A normal fridge sticks out beyond the counter. Your cooktop, your oven or ovens, your microwave. Now, here's a trend that we're seeing a lot. People are moving their small appliances to the pantry. So it used to be 80s, 90s, we mentioned there's an appliance garage, right? You got the little roll up on the counter and you throw the toaster and blender in there. Now what's happening is people don't want to see those, but they want them accessible all the time. And so the pantries are getting a little bit bigger. We're putting cabinet and countertops in the pantries. People are putting the microwave, the coffee maker, sometimes a second fridge. You mentioned cultural and stuff. I'm working on a house where the lady's Korean, and we're putting a kimchi fridge in the pantry. So all those kinds of things now can kind of move, and we can work on your workflow, both culturally, but also for the area that you're in, and also make it easy to use your appliances.
It's kind of that idea of not wanting to have clutter, but some of that clutter
Yeah,
is
and
necessary,
it's useful, and you don't want to
and
get it
it's
out
useful.
every time, right? You don't want to get the blender or the toaster out every time you want to make a piece of toast if you toast every day. Microwave is something that here in America, at least, we use multiple times per day. A lot of people don't want to put it over the cooktop because you're getting. I think you mentioned, frying stuff gets on the front of the microwave, things like that.
Yeah, if you're Southern, let's face it, you're frying. I mean, that's pretty much typical Southern cuisine. And so, my husband is from Tennessee, and so he loves to fry that fish and everything else. And our vent for our stove is right above. And if you're not OCD like I am, and you're not wiping that off every time or every other time, you're going to get a caked on grossness above there. So
Sure.
yeah, it's one of those things it's out of sight and out of mind until it's not.
Yes. And speaking of the hood vent, there's all different ways to do that. We've got recycled air. A lot of the residential hoods have a low CFM. That means they move a small amount of air. And so oftentimes, if we're doing a chef's kitchen with a big cooktop, 6 or 8 burners, sometimes big wide ranges and things, we want to put in something that's got a lot higher airflow that's going to move stuff out of that kitchen, especially if you've got a grease fire or something else. We want to make sure that that is not spreading out into the house. Sometimes commercial industrial hoods people install over those big giant ranges.
Hey, let's talk about pantries a little bit. One of the things that you and I built into the home design plan was a large pantry.
Yeah, that's a
And
trend we're seeing.
it is absolutely great to have space, isn't it? I mean, I've got a pantry, but it's a little awkward, I'll be honest with you. So I've got a pantry on one side of the kitchen, and I have a very an open floor plan. So it's all the way on the other side of the kitchen. But the
Hmm,
shelving is very narrow. So the width is about that wide. So you can't really get a whole lot in there. But then I've got cupboards that are, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, miles deep. And so it just is kind of awkward. So in that planning phase, when we're talking about pantries and
right.
storage, really
We're,
thinking about what am I going to use this for? How am I going to make it easily accessible? If it's going to be a pantry, are there items that can roll out to me so that I can
right.
push them back in? Things like that that make it more efficient and effective.
And I personally prefer movable shelves in cabinets and in pantries because your needs often change. You might be storing a small appliance here today, but you might be storing bags of rice or something else there in the future. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I like to be able to make sure that you've got some options.
Yeah, it's really important to be able to, change, your surroundings as you grow as a family, right? Let's face it, sometimes you're newlyweds just starting out and you're adding to your family, or in your case, you've got 5 kids. And so 4 kids, 5 kids,
Maybe they'll start moving out soon, and then we'll
right?
then we'll rearrange in different ways.
Right.
Um,
So
now, I like flexibility, and we've talked about, that our preferences in appliances. Some people want certain kind of dishwashers, certain kind of ovens. I love a convection oven. Electric ovens are convection ovens are great. Our oven actually has an air fry mode, so that you can actually turn the oven into a giant air fryer. Um, and then cooktops. I'm a gas guy. I like propane or gas cooktops, but there are certain parts of the country, California being one of them, that they've enacted laws that could, on new construction, gas is going away. You've got to install electric or induction cooktops.
can you believe that, David? As of
No.
2023,
Right.
no more gas cooktops
And
in
that also goes for
California.
commercial. And so that's going to change the way restaurants cook. But you need
Right.
to know that in your design, especially if you have a designer who's out of state, or he's got to know some of those local ordinances.
Yeah, it's very interesting the trends that are happening in legislation now in order with a desire to protect the economy or other things, and the shift that has to take place in the home building arena to allow for that.
Yeah,
And I agree with you. I've got an electric oven now with convection. Man, it's incredible. It really is. I'm very surprised. It heats evenly, it heats quickly. My
yeah,
baked potatoes are done in half the time and they're great. So there are some great things about electric that you don't necessarily get with gas, but I think they both have their benefits.
sure. But we got to make sure that we plan for those things. Electric, making sure that even if you choose an electric cook or a gas cooktop, that we've got electric at that area for future upgrades. Same with oven areas, drop gas and electric in those places. Anyway, all that stuff goes into design. Like I said, it's a very expensive room. It's a room that people spend a lot of time in every day. A lot of people now eat in the kitchen, even at like an island, and so it's got to be an attractive room and a functional room.
Lighting too in your kitchen is so important. You
Yeah.
kind of need to see what you're cooking and what you're eating. So,
Right.
as you look at the electrical side and the design, making sure that your kitchen is properly lit or that you have options in that so that you can, have it brightly lit while you're cooking maybe and dim down those lights when you're getting ready to eat. All those
I
different nuances.
Yeah, I love under counter lights, like for if you're going into the kitchen late at night, so you don't have the bright lights that you might need during the day cooking dinner, but you're going in for a snack, you just want to turn on those under cabinet lights.
Yeah, some of them are even motion activated, I think, too, David. You can get into some really fun stuff.
You
Not to
can.
nerd out at all,
I think
but
we're going to talk about smart homes one of these days more. And
yeah,
all the options. I know we've talked about that in the past too, but it just seems to keep going and going. Anyway, this has been, there's so much to keep going on in the kitchen, backsplashes, countertops, all the stuff we could talk about. But please reach out if you've got any questions about kitchen design or anything that you've got questions about with home building and home
yeah.
buying.
Put them below. Put your questions below. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you have a great day.